Thank you to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video and supporting my channel. PreSonus makes two fantastic beat pads, the Atom and the Atom SQ, and today we're talking about which one might be better for you. Okay, so I've actually done a deep dive into both of these units, so I'll make sure to link those videos down below in case you want to check out all of the bells and whistles for each. For today, however, we're only going to be focusing on the main differences in hopes of helping you choose which one might be better for you. Let's dive in. So let's start off with the form factor. As you can noticeably tell, the regular Atom has a much smaller footprint, which makes it slightly more suitable for portability. Now, I say slightly more portable because although the SQ is longer, it is still a super portable device that fits in most backpacks. Nonetheless, if size and portability is a top priority for you, then the regular Atom definitely wins in this department. The regular Atom has a very traditional 4x4 layout, so if you're coming from an MPC or a machine, then this is going to be very familiar to you. On the other hand, the SQ is built more like a TR-808 drum machine with stagger pads, which we'll get into in a bit. Finally, we could also throw in there the connectivity type here. The Atom connects via a USB-B connector, while the SQ uses the newer and more versatile USB Type-C cable. Moving on to the pads, here is where we see the biggest difference in my opinion. As mentioned before, the regular Atom has a more traditional beat pad form with big square pads in a 4x4 layout, while the SQ has slimmer rectangle shaped pads with 16 at the bottom and 16 at the top. In terms of feel, they feel the exact same to me, and as a matter of fact, I personally think that the pads on both of the Atoms are the perfect balance between stiffness and softness compared to other alternatives like the MPC and the machine. In any case, regardless of what Atom you pick, you will still be getting the same exact quality of pads, with the only difference being in the shape and the quantity. Regarding practicality, because the regular Atom has those nice big pads, it is no surprise that they are better suited for someone who does a lot of finger drumming. It is very possible to finger drum on the SQ, I do it all the time, but again, if you want that traditional beat pad feel, then the regular Atom might be the one to consider. Now, although the SQ doesn't have those big pads for finger drumming, its strength comes in when you're trying to play chords and melodies. Because of the staggered layout of the pads, it very closely mimics a piano's layout, so it is easier to use that muscle memory to quickly play out some chords and melodies, and especially if you take advantage of its multiple keyboard setups. On the SQ, if you go under the instrument category and then go back one page to the left, you will see that you can modify the pads to follow a specific key and scale. Not only that, but you can also modify the layout of the pads to be set up in a traditional keyboard layout like you see here. Continuous mode, which highlights the scale in a linear style. And then finally, my favorite, which is the scale only mode, which locks the scale notes into each pad so that you can't play a wrong note. The regular Atom has a variation of this feature, but it's not as easy to use, it's not as extensive, and it's almost a little hidden. If you want to use that feature on a regular Atom, then while on a VST, hold down the shift button, and then the first two encoders here become your adjusters, with the first adjusting the scale and the second adjusting the key. The problem though is that because there is no screen, you have no way of knowing what scale or key you are in unless you memorize them. Even if you do memorize them, it can be hard to know where you are because the encoders are not ratcheted and some scales have the same pads lit up. Additionally, because of that 4x4 layout, triggering chords is not as effortless as on the SQ because of the different layout. So let me show you what I mean here really quickly. If I press and hold the shift button here and then use my first encoder to go all the way to the left, that is the C chromatic scale, with the lit up keys being the white keys and then the non-lit up keys being the black keys. So now, if I want to change my scale, then I have to once again press that shift button and very, very slightly turn that knob. And I'm saying very slightly because you can easily go too far and go to a different scale. Now, if I did this correctly, I should be on C major, right? If I want to go to C minor, which I know is the next scale, then I have to once again very slightly turn that. No. But as you can see, the pads are lit up in the exact same way, so I have no way of knowing what scale I'm in or how far I have gone. It works the exact same for the actual key. Right now I'm in C major, But if I want to go to maybe a C sharp, turn that, C sharp, but once again, the same problem persists. I have no idea, I have no way of knowing where I am because there's no screen and the pads don't change in any significant way. I think the solution would be to, number one, make the next generation of the Atom have ratcheted encoders, and then number two, and most importantly, link the scale feature on the Atom to the scale features on the piano roll within Studio One. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you open up a piano roll here in Studio One under any VST, you will see on the left side here the scale and key indicator. My suggestion is to link these two up. So as I change it here, that automatically links up to whatever is in Studio One, and all I have to do is look up to see what scale and key I am in. Now with the SQ, it is a complete exact opposite experience because not only is this encoder ratcheted, but of course we also have a screen to be able to see exactly where we are. So for example, right now I am in the scale only mode for the C major scale, but I can very easily change this over to melodic minor, harmonic minor, natural minor, right? And I can also change the root, so D, E, and I have absolutely no trouble. Now, aside from chords and melodies, the other scenario where I really enjoy having 32 staggered pads on the SQ is when chopping samples, because having more pads means that I have more places to place my chops. I've done an entire video on how to use the SQ for sampling, so make sure to check it out right over here. Finally, you could also leverage the increased number of pads when playing drums because you can technically have two banks available at any time, one at the bottom and then one at the top. On the regular Atom, you have to manually switch between your banks if you want to access different drums by pressing this bank button and then selecting one of these pads here. Okay, next up we have functions, and this is the second biggest difference I would say. Now, the winner in this category by a long shot is the SQ, but it does have some caveats. Now, both of these units have your basic transport and navigation controls, but the SQ just has so much more to offer. On the hardware side, the SQ has 8 programmable encoders that also contain secondary functions when using the shift button. On the regular Atom, on the other hand, you only have 4. The SQ also has 8 bank buttons here that also contain some secondary features and a dynamic strip wheel that can be used for a number of different things. Additionally, as mentioned before, the SQ also has a dynamic screen here that gives you layers and layers of other features and functions to control your DAW. I won't dive into all of the bells and whistles here, but if you want to know about all that the SQ has to offer, then definitely make sure to watch my deep dive video right over here. But okay, now let's talk about the downside to the SQ here. Although the SQ has a lot more features, because it has such a compact form factor, those features are sometimes buried into layers and layers within the screen, which can take some time to access. With the regular Atom, you do get less functions, but for the most part, they are in the form of physical buttons that you can quickly access. The SQ, on the other hand, does do more, but again, you have to really learn where those things are to be able to access them just as quickly as with the regular Atom. A good example here is a note repeat function. On the regular Atom, all you have to do is be on something like Impact XT or Sample 1, play your sample, and then hit the note repeat function, and immediately you get those values presented to you very, very quickly. Now on the Atom SQ, you have to engage the instrument section, go 2 pages to the right, engage the note repeat, and then change the strip wheel from modulation to repeater. From here, you can play your sample and then use the modulation wheel to change the note value. So that is probably one of the biggest downsides to the Atom SQ, and not to mention that if you're on a DAW that doesn't have that tight integration or not fully supported yet by PreSonus, then having all these extra features might not even make a difference. All right, next up we have price. Now, this one is not a big difference relatively speaking because the regular Atom retails for $149.95 while the SQ sells for $249.95. The difference is $100, so it's not too crazy, but of course that can still be a deciding factor for a lot of people. All right, so final thoughts. Now, if you are a regular viewer of this channel, then you already know what I'm going to say here. My personal vote goes towards the Atom SQ. Now, I'll be honest though, the main reason for this is because of its ability to better help me play chords and melodies. I can put up with smaller pads when it comes to finger drumming because it's only a small inconvenience, but the lack of scale mode functionality on the regular Atom is an absolute deal breaker for me. Not only that, but nowadays I don't even finger drum that often. Most of the time I use my macro toolbar to program my drums and then use the SQ to to quickly get some chords or melodic ideas out. Now, in terms of the other functions of the SQ, I really don't use them that often, but it's nice to know that I have them there available if I ever need them. Now, for you, obviously make the decision that better suits your style of workflow and your needs, but I would say if chords and melodic help is a priority to you, then go for the SQ. On the other hand, if you do more finger drumming or you just don't care about all that scale stuff, then go regular Atom, but then maybe also pair that with a fader port to retain those additional Studio One controls. I've also done a full video on the fader port, so I'll make sure to link that right over here. Now, I've yet to figure out a workflow where both of these can coexist together, and I'm sure it's out there, but do you know where you can always find these two together? At Sweetwater.com, the sponsor for this video. Sweetwater is the largest online retailer for all musical instruments and pro audio equipment, and a fantastic place to shop for all of your studio needs. From their award-winning customer service to their personalized gear advice from your dedicated sales rep to their fast free shipping, payment options, and even their hassle-free return policy, they are truly a pleasure to buy from. Sweetwater has been my go-to spot for many years now when it comes to gear-related purchases, and I cannot recommend them enough. I'll be leaving links to both items down below in the description in case you want to check them out, and they will be Sweetwater affiliate links, which means that if you click on them and shop through them, I will get a small commission at no additional cost to you, but that certainly goes a long way in helping this channel continue to make content like this, so thank you so much for your support. But there you have it, that was a rundown of some of the differences between the Atom and Atom SQ, and hopefully it helped you discover which one is better suited for your own needs. As always, I'd love to hear from you and your thoughts on the Atom, so definitely leave them in a comment down below. Huge thank you once again to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video, and as always, like this video if you liked, subscribe if you're not already, but I'll see you on the next one.